investigative journalist Claire Hart had always been drawn to the unexplained. When whispers of strange disappearances in the Appalachian region reached her desk, she felt compelled to dig deeper. Locals spoke of hikers, drifters, and even entire families vanishing without a trace. The final breadcrumb was a curious lead. A handwritten note in her mailbox that simply read, Everhaven. Find it before it finds you. There was no mention of Everhaven in any registry, map, or GPS database. Intrigued, Claire packed her gear and drove into the misty wilderness, chasing the ghost of a town she wasn't sure even existed. After hours of winding through dense forests and fog-choked roads, Claire's car stuttered to a stop on the outskirts of a town. A weathered wooden sign read, Welcome to Everhaven. The town seemed frozen in time. Cobblestone streets wound through rows of quaint, ivy-covered homes. The air smelled faintly of lilacs, though no flowers were in bloom. Townsfolk moved with an eerie calm, smiling as if rehearsed. Claire approached a woman tending her garden. How long have you lived here? Claire asked. Oh, forever, the woman replied cheerfully. But when pressed, the woman faltered. I don't quite remember, actually. Strange, isn't it? Every conversation ended the same way. No one could recall arriving in Everhaven or anything about their life before. Claire checked into the only inn in Everhaven, run by an elderly couple, Edgar and Mabel. The room was pristine but devoid of modern conveniences. No clocks, no phones. The mirrors, Claire noticed, seemed oddly clouded, as though they refused to reflect the world as it was. She began her investigation in earnest. At the library, she found books filled with blank pages. In the town square, a fountain trickled water that shimmered unnaturally under the pale sunlight. Despite hours of searching, she couldn't find any roads leading out of Everhaven. The townsfolk's strange behavior began to gnaw at her. Their smiles never faltered, but their eyes carried an unshakable sadness. When she asked Edgar about the disappearances, he simply muttered, They weren't meant to stay. The longer Claire stayed in Everhaven, the more she noticed gaps in her own memory. One morning, she awoke unable to recall what day it was. Later, she struggled to remember her editor's name. Desperate, she began keeping a detailed journal, writing down every interaction and observation. Her investigation led her to the town's church, a grand but crumbling structure. Inside, she discovered a mural depicting scenes of people wandering into Everhaven, their faces blank, their identities erased. Beneath the mural was an inscription, Those who forget belong forever. Claire learned of a recluse named Victor, who lived on the edge of town and was whispered to know the town's secrets. She found him in a decrepit house surrounded by a garden of dead flowers. Unlike the other townsfolk, Victor didn't smile. You shouldn't have come here, he said bluntly. Victor revealed that Everhaven wasn't a place on any map. It was a rift between worlds, a liminal space where lost souls wandered. Time didn't pass in Everhaven. The town fed on memories, erasing the past to trap its inhabitants in a perpetual present. The disappearances? Claire pressed. They weren't random. Everhaven chooses. And now it's chosen you. Victor handed her a rusted key. The bell tower holds the truth, but it'll cost you. With the key in hand, Claire climbed the bell tower at the heart of town. Each step felt heavier, as if the town itself resisted her progress. At the top, she found a dusty room filled with trinkets. Photographs, letters, watches, all remnants of lives erased. In the center of the room stood a cracked bell. Victor had warned her that ringing it would reveal the town's true nature, but it might also seal her fate. As Claire hesitated, her memories began slipping faster. Her sister's face blurred. The sound of her childhood home became distant. With a trembling hand, she struck the bell. The bell's toll echoed unnaturally, shaking the town to its core. Claire was flooded with visions. Everhaven was a place for those who had lost their way, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. The town offered solace but demanded their pasts in return. She saw the truth of the disappearances. Each person who entered Everhaven had been at a crossroads in their life. Some accepted the town's offer, fading into its fabric. Others resisted and were consumed entirely, leaving no trace. Claire realized she was on the brink of forgetting herself completely. But the bell's toll had weakened the town's grip. Guided by the faint memories she had left, Claire fled the bell tower and retraced her steps through the town. The cobblestone streets cracked and crumbled behind her as Everhaven fought to keep her. The whispers grew louder, pleading with her to stay. At the edge of town, she found her car, miraculously intact. As she crossed the threshold, a blinding light enveloped her. Claire awoke on the forest floor, her journal clutched tightly in her hand. The town of Everhaven was gone, as if it had never existed. Her notes were the only proof of her experience, though much of it felt like a dream. Back at her office, she penned the story of Everhaven, but her editor dismissed it as fiction. Still, Claire couldn't shake the feeling that the town wasn't finished with her. Occasionally, she'd catch a glimpse of ivy-covered houses in her dreams, or hear the faint toll of a bell in the wind. Everhaven had let her go, for now.